Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. My name is Josh Haynam, co-founder and CEO at Interact. Today, I'm joined by Kary Perry, social brand coach. You've got a great quiz that I want to start off by talking about, and then I want to talk about social branding because that's like what you got to do now.
Yeah, let's get into it, Josh.
Yeah, so good. So let's start with your quiz. You renovated it recently, and I'm curious to hear about that process and also just how it's working for your business.
Oh, excellent. It's actually a second quiz that I created. So, my first quiz, which is something that I called the Mojo, your marketing Mojo quiz, was a huge gangbuster quiz for me. It generated nearly 6,000 leads into my email list. And I use it primarily inside of one of my courses now, specifically to help people understand their brand and their brand strategy. So, that quiz now lives inside of one of my main courses just to kind of be something extra sweet and special that you get when you're inside of that course. But over the past 10 months, I actually restructured my entire business and I broke down one of my primary course coaching programs and I broke it down into three different courses. Now, because of that, my infrastructure and my world became that much more robust. And I needed people to understand how can they navigate inside of my world? How do they know if they need brand strategy, content strategy, sales strategy? And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to create a quiz because it's worked so amazing for me in the past that can help them navigate my entire world and get them to the exact right place and all of the resources that I have available to them based on what they need to focus on next in their business. And when I tell you that quiz was exactly what I needed. The way that it helps people, my visitors that come to my website, the way that it helps them navigate my website, get to exactly where they need to get to. I mean, it is just, mwah, it is perfection.
That's so cool. It's like the perfect use case where it's like you've got the three paths, right? And then the quiz greets the people where they're at and then helps them find the right path. Because like we're not always thinking like, oh, I need to renovate my social brand. But then you answer some questions, it gets your brain thinking, and you're like, oh, that is what I need. So that's like such
Exactly.
a perfect use case.
I mean, and here's the amazing thing. Most people just think about the quizzes and using the quizzes themselves as the lead magnet, and that's what generates the leads. And for my first quiz, that is what generated the leads. Those 6,000 people, they ended up coming into my email list specifically because of the quiz. But this one, this is actually used to get people to all of my other resources that I have available. So instead of just using that quiz itself, that's like the gatekeeping and the key in order to get that lead for me, I'm using it to generate leads into my free lead magnets that I have available to me, into my free workshops, into understanding more about the coaching opportunities that I have available. I've had so many people land on my page, take the quiz, get exactly to where they need to be, and enroll in the offerings that I have available. I mean, it's working for me exactly like I hoped that it would work. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's like, how can I pay someone to come onto the podcast and say it's working exactly like I hoped it would? But it truly is, Josh. It really is.
Yeah, we won't tell the audience that we did pay you. Uh, but no, I mean, what I'm thinking about as you're talking is like the funnel has flipped in a way where now it's all social first. It's a lot of personal brands, and people don't know anything about your business. The old funnel of search first, where people were searching for a specific term, and then they would land on your specific blog post or your podcast episode or your YouTube video that was about that term, you didn't necessarily need to guide people to the right resource
Mhm.
because they might just start there. But now, and this has kind of been the chatter this whole year, like search is all messed up. AI search is who knows what's going on there. And the one thing that people are having a lot of success with, at least from my view, and this is a perfect transition to talk about the rest of your business, but people are starting on social media, especially the ones that are succeeding. They're building a brand there. They're driving traffic from there. But those folks coming in, they could be all over the place. You don't know why they click. So that's why I really like the way that you're talking about this because it's almost like you are recreating search on your site, but in a way that involves the searcher.
Exactly. Exactly. I
That's
mean, I tell my students and clients all the time that as a small business owner, you are your primary asset. You are your most powerful asset that you have in your brand. You. And now, when you're showing up on social media and creating this personal brand around yourself and around what you have to offer, and people are now coming into your world, and because that SEO is not existing the way that it typically has, traditionally has when it came to search platforms, now we need to figure out what to do with them once they're there. We need to make sure that we're guiding them because we don't own our social media followers, right? We do not own them. And to be very honest, if they're following you or if they're following me, they're following dozens of other people that are just like you. So unless we find a way to get them off of the social media app and deeper into our world and help them get to exactly where they need to be, unless we help them do that, then they're just going to get lost. They're going to get lost in everything that in all the different posts that pop up on social media and in everything that we have to offer. This is our time to help navigate them through the process and get them to exactly where they need to be so that they can become a client, customer, or brand partner of ours.
Right. And that what you're talking about there reminds me of the old school bounce rates that
Mhm.
everybody used to talk about back in the age of SEO and web traffic, and is not really something that people talk about with social media, but it's the same problem.
Mhm.
The bounce rate is somebody that clicks through from your social, or they see you on social and then look you up on Google, however they get to your site, and they just bounce right off. They're like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, I follow 10 of these people, it all looks the same. But if you can be like your setup where it's like, how can I help you? It's just like the classic, right? It's like walking into a store and the one store asks, how can I help you? The other one doesn't. Which one are you more likely to buy from? It's kind of a no-brainer.
Exactly. Exactly. And I have my quiz primarily lives on my website. So all across my website at the very top, you're going to see call to actions to take the quiz. But I also have the quiz in my LinkedIn bio. I have people directing people in my bio to take the quiz. I have the quiz actually talking about in my pinned post on Instagram as well. So I have a lot of different ways to help them understand, look, I can help you get to where you need to get to based on everything that I have available to me. And I think having something as interesting as a quiz being the thing that does that, it's so low pressure. You're not saying, hey, book a discovery call with me so I can figure out what I need to sell you, right? You're saying, just, hey, take this quiz and it's going to point you to where you need to go to and get you the right resources that you need. So, I mean, it's just so inviting.
Yeah, and like people get to choose their own path forward, right? Like I'm sure they go through the quiz, they could book a call right after that. They could decide they want to go further, but they don't have to.
Hmm.
And I think that's like the missing piece, right? Like we think about, social traffic or web traffic or wherever this traffic is coming from, ads, and you've got like your full on offer, which is like, okay, go straight to a call or buy a product, but that's like a small percentage of people, usually like 1 to 2%. And then the rest just bounce. But
Exactly.
then you add the quiz, and it's like, okay, now maybe now you capture another 2, 3, 4, 10%. That's a huge difference because then your business is more efficient than the 10 others in your space, more efficient, compounding over time. All of a sudden, you pull way ahead. Have you also found that it saves time on like people that kind of self-serve rather than everybody having to go through a call or go through like a more manual or DM you if they
It
have questions?
absolutely saves time. I mean, I would say that it really pushes people through the customer journey that much faster. I mean, the fact that I've been able to have a visitor land on my website, take the quiz, get in front of my free resources, including my free workshops, take the workshop, and then enroll inside my course without me having any interaction with them whatsoever, that's proof in the pudding in and of itself. But I think one of the things, I mean, let's talk about one thing that I want to bring up that it kind of helps with as well is it's of course, everybody's using chatbots right now, and everybody posts, you're seeing the drop the word to get access to, right? And you're fighting with everybody else just trying to get people to drop that magical word that helps them get their leads as well. And I'm even fighting with that, and all of my clients are fighting with that. Well, this does that as well. And that's
Yeah.
the amazing thing that I love is this does that as well. So instead of just getting people hoping that someone sees my reel, that it goes viral, and that they drop the keyword, I'm able to offer them a different solution that's going to put the same resources in front of them. And I think
Yeah.
having something, I think it's really about creating that versatility with how you're able to get in front of and to serve your audience. And this is just one more key along with all the other keys that you should be using that's going to help them get them to the right place.
I like that you said that because I am a huge fan of busting the myth that, you make this magical quiz and that's everything. It's a very helpful key, but you got to have other keys. You got to have other elements to build up. And then, that stool analogy, right, where it's like you got to have legs of your stool. And if you only have one leg, it's not a very stable stool. You got three, fairly stable. You got 10, that's really stable.
Right.
It's a weird looking stool, but you have a lot of stability, right? Like it's not just but it is a effective leg of the stool to move your business forward and automate things. And like that example you gave where somebody can self-serve all the way through. That's really huge. Like
Mhm.
especially if you're trying to scale, you don't have time to manually move everybody through. And it's also costly if somebody doesn't find the right solution for them and they're like, I guess not. And then you find out later, but then it's too late. And you're like, oh,
Exactly.
well, I did have the right solution.
Exactly. I mean, most of us, especially those that I work with, they're solo entrepreneurs. And if you're a solo entrepreneur, you're wearing all of the hats. The biggest thing that you need to figure out is how to simplify everything, how to simplify your content creation, how to simplify your business strategies, how to simplify your customer journeys. And this is something that does that. So you pair a simplification tool that helps get them to the right place, and you pair that with everything else that you're doing to get in front of all the right people. I think that's when you're going to start to see the magic happen.
Yeah, simplifying, automating is another word that
Mhm.
comes to mind as you're talking. And then you can focus on the part that's really hard, I think, and for a lot of our customers, which is how do you increase your awareness? How do you show up more consistently?
How do you just
You know,
be yourself?
Right? It's hard enough to do that, but then if you do that and you don't have something in place that automates customer onboarding, customer acquisition, retention, all everything that you're talking about that the quiz is helping with. If you don't have that part in place, I think that's where businesses go to die, where
Mhm.
it's like you do finally break through and get some attention, but it's fleeting and you're not capturing that attention. You're not converting it into email leads. You're not converting it into customers effectively. And then I think that's where people really give up. It's like, it's not when they don't make it, it's when they make it, but they have nothing in place after somebody like finds out about them. That's
Exactly.
that's the real debilitating spot.
It really is. I mean, I think it goes back to the whole myth of build it and they will come. I mean, we
Mm.
can build it and maybe they might come, but then what happens when they get there?
Right, right. Yeah, that's what I think, when I'm talking to people about quiz strategy, and I think you've done this perfectly, where everything connects up to different offers that you have. Some of it's like free videos that are free, some of it's like master classes that are paid. Some it's just a mix, right? In a way that it gives people a couple of options, but you don't have too many options. You have a few options
Mhm,
for each person, which is perfect. Like that's the highest conversion rate, 3 to 6 options,
mhm.
not more than that. You have all that in place, and that allows it to actually deliver when somebody finds you on social media and clicks through, takes the quiz, or they see your reel talking about it, they take the quiz. There's actually something on the back end, which then allows you, I would imagine, to focus more on increasing your reach because you're like, okay, I know my system is good. Of course, it can always be improved, but like it's good. It's converting people. It's not just letting everybody bounce and leave and I'm not
Exactly.
getting anything out of these click throughs. Let's talk about that now. If your game, like
Mhm.
social strategy, building a social brand. Here's my framing that I'm curious to know your perspective on. This is what I'm seeing just from my perspective. Been doing this 12 years. There was a cohort of business owners prior to 2020. Their whole MO was like social is a good thing. You should be doing it, but really like your best leads are going to come from SEO and that's the long-term game. Like make sure you have good content, make sure that it's optimized. YouTube is good for that. Podcasts are good for that. Blogs are good for that, right? That was like the main emphasis. Then between 2020 and 2025, that completely went away. It's no longer a thing. I don't know anybody that gets their main source of traffic from search anymore. It's still a source, but it's not growing. If anything, it's shrinking. And those business owners really struggled to make the transition to building a personal brand, which is kind of what you have to do now if you are running your own business. And then there's a new wave of entrepreneurs who are having a lot of success, mostly under the age of 30, who grew up with social media and they're not really having any problems. They're like, yeah, of course, yeah, you make like a personal brand. That's how you promote your business. That's the new source of traffic. So I guess in terms of my question for you, what advice do you have for that group that feels like they just weren't able to make the transition and now it's really tough because their leads have gone down very significantly since SEO has changed so much? And then what advice do you have for that new group that is really just good at social media off the bat? But I think the struggle that I see there is those folks struggle more with building the back end systems, like building the products and the offers, because while they did grow up with social media, they also grew up with brand partnerships. And the tendency there is just to rely on brands paying them, and they don't necessarily always build up their own companies. They're reliant, but that's pretty volatile. So those are the two questions that I have. First of all, that group that grew up on SEO and is now trying to transition. I guess let's start there.
Right.
That's an interesting one.
I will say that it's never too late to create a social media presence. I mean, social media is ever evolving. There's always new platforms that are coming up. There's always new ways to utilize the platforms that currently exist. And there's always new businesses. And this is what I would say to the current ones. There's always new businesses that are popping up that are doing it. So it's never too late for you to actually start to create a social media presence on your own. And it is so unbelievably important. I mean, when we think about it, if we go out to eat and we're trying out a new restaurant, most people are going to Instagram before they're even going to Yelp to see pictures of the food that's at the restaurant. If they're trying to learn something new and they want to watch a how to, they're going to go to YouTube to see that. They're not searching on Google anymore to read a blog on how to do something. So we're utilizing it every day. We see the importance of it every day, and it's never too late to do it. Now, one way that I coach my students and my clients is that I teach them that social media is just one part of their trust funnel, that every single touch point that their audience has with them, whether it's on social media, whether it's in person, whether it's through a book that they've written, whether it's on their website, no matter what it is, these are all points of trust. And at every single point, they need to be increasing the trust level that they have with that individual. Social media just plays a part in that. Social media is just one aspect of it. It's an important aspect of it. It's an aspect that you absolutely should have, but it's one aspect of increasing that trust. So showing up and being present there in a real and authentic and a humanized way is so unbelievably important when it comes to transitioning people to build trust with you. So that's what I would say to those that are currently struggling and feel like they missed that boat, is that one, it's never too late. And two, it's unbelievably important that they actually do make that shift.
I like that framing because it it demystifies it, but also makes it more approachable, right? Like, because every business owner understands that you have to build trust. And if that trust was built through writing really good content before, now it's built through turning on a camera and recording yourself talking for 90 seconds. And that's the only difference. And maybe it takes some retraining because it's different to say something in 90 seconds instead of sitting down and writing for an hour, but it's the same message. It's the same content and it's the same approach. It's the same goal. You're trying to build trust with people in your brand, in your product, in what you're offering, and it's all just part of the same thing. I like that
Exactly.
that framing a lot.
And one thing that I thought of as you were talking was that, and what I would say to them is, you don't have to do it like anybody else. Like, there are a million different ways that you can succeed on social media. If you're not 100% comfortable talking directly to the camera, then focus more on carousels if you're on Instagram, or focus more on thought leadership quotes if you're on Threads. You can go about it completely what you feel is best for your brand and what you're most comfortable with. There are so many different content types and content formats, and what I always recommend is to utilize a mix of them. Don't just utilize one type, utilize all of them. And if you're only comfortable with one particular area, then let that be the primary way that you're delivering content. You don't have to do it like anyone else. You can do it 100% the way that makes sense for you and your brand. And I think that that can maybe take off the stress a little bit for it. It was like, I'm not comfortable talking on camera. It's like, it's okay. You don't have to. Throw up a B-roll and do a voiceover then. Like, you can do it your way. And I think that's what makes social media so special, is that you can do it in a way that's most authentic to you, and you're going to get in front of the people that most needs to hear your story in the way that you're telling it.
And if you do that, I think that actually helps in the long run, because at least my observation over the last few years is it seems like everything kind of converged. There was a point, I don't know when exactly, maybe a year ago, maybe even earlier this year, where like everything looked the same. Everything sounded the same. Every piece of content, every reel, every TikTok post, exactly the same. And then it almost was like a a start of a new star or something, and just like exploded. And now like everything is different. And like you got people that feel comfortable in a more professional setting. You got people that want to be more chill about things and just like not do the whole professional setup. And it's so interesting because like, at least this is just kind of riffing now, but like I think people had to work really hard to make everything look the same, and it was supposed to be effortless. And then I think everyone was kind of called the bluff on that, where it's like, that's not effortless. None of it is effortless. It all takes effort. And whatever your form of effort looks like, do that. Don't just try to follow the same thing, because it just got really boring.
It did. It did. I
Really
could not
boring.
agree with you more. And it all comes down to what's actually going to be sustainable. I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
if you don't enjoy showing up on social media, you're not going to show up on social media. No matter how hard you want to, no matter how much you know that it's going to help your business, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to show up and do it. Which is why I always think that we should start with where our creativity lies the most, because that's what we're going to enjoy about it. As long as we can enjoy this process, we're actually going to show up and do it. So if you pick the things that make the most sense for you and what feels most authentic for you, then you're probably going to stick with it. And whatever is most consistent and most sustainable is going to be the thing that actually works.
Yeah, I think it's so, I don't know, it feels so like deja vu to me, because like 2010, 11, 12, up till 2020, we were having this conversation about creating content for search engines. The exact same conversation, like verbatim. Like, show up the way that works for you. Don't try to like game the algorithms. Just stay consistent and like share your stories, share your customers' stories, share the insights that you learn. And it was all like written content, and then slowly morphed into YouTube content. And now it's the same thing. And I think the changes that the social media platforms have made the last few years, basically they look exactly the same as what search looked like 10 years ago. It's like everything's indexed. It's kind of keyword driven versus just like algorithm driven. There's still an algorithm of discoverability. So sometimes you'll get lucky and something will pop off, which is kind of how it worked before with search. Like every once in a while you'd write a post and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, that one ranked. And back then it was like, it was such a standard trope that 1 out of 100 pieces you made would be successful and get like a lot of traffic. And I don't know why we lost that, because like it's the same. It seems the same. It's like, do the same thing. It's so funny. So funny. It's just, I think it's the comfortability of like, and I don't know if this is how it generally is, but this is the vibe that I get from our audience and our customers, is like, it feels a little more vulnerable to have 99 videos that get no traffic than it does to have 99 faceless blog posts that are just texts that you wrote getting no traffic, because no one could see
No
that.
one can see it.
Now it's all out in the open and everyone can see that you have 99 videos that have no views. But I think if you can let go of that and just like you said, find something that's actually enjoyable, that feels creative for you. Like, I enjoy creating this content, whether it gets 1 million views or if it gets 10. I enjoy creating it one way or the other. Make it sustainable.
Exactly. Exactly. One thing that I love to tell my clients is that I'll say it just for this month specifically. This month specifically, every single new client that I've enrolled, none of them engaged with any of my social media content.
Huh.
All right. And see, and the point that I'm making here is that it's not the engagement. It's not the engagement that matters. It's actually the fact that you're moving them along the customer journey. We don't need them to engage with our content. We need them to take the next step with us. We need them to say, yes, I'm in. And I think when we start to shift our focus to creating content that actually connects and creating content that truly converts, not just to likes and views and comments, but it actually converts to real business results. When we change our focus to that, one, we start creating different types of content. Two, we feel a whole hell of a lot less stress because we're not focusing on those engagement metrics. And three, we start to see real results in our business.
That's so true. And I think if you know what moves people along, which I think the only way to know that is to work with the clients,
Mhm.
like actually dive deep into working with, even if you are not really getting paid enough for it or whatever, like it's not profitable to go to the level of service that you go to, understand every element of the funnel, every element of what somebody has questions about, or where they get stuck, or how they're thinking about it, or what led them to want to work with you in the first place. Understand those things with such deep nuance, then you can just like spit it all back out as videos and as posts and carousels or whatever format you want to do.
Exactly.
And that's like exactly what you're talking about, where it's like, well, if the content comes from onboarding a successful client who's really happy working with you, then naturally it's going to convert other people who see that content.
Mm-hmm.
If the content comes from you trying to get a bunch of views on social media, I don't know what that leads to. Like nothing, I guess.
I guess it leads to a dopamine hit, but
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, I mean, this is like, health stuff, right?
right,
Like it's not actually healthy.
right,
Um,
exactly.
I
To just
guess
keep taking those
not.
empty dopamine hits. So
Yeah.
I can completely agree with you on that. I think that there's a way to approach it, that is sustainable, that brings more peace and ease than brings more hustle and stress. And I think that when we focus on the right things when it comes to building this, I think that's what's most important. And one of the things that I feel like is a huge miss when it comes to, especially those that are starting off with social media, especially if they're coming from written content, is that they tend to miss the human and emotional aspect of it. And
Hmm.
most people, when they're connecting with, even with brands and businesses online, they want to connect with them in some way that's humanized, that's personal, that's emotional on some level. Even with the large house known names, you're going to see people tend to put certain people in the front and center. So even with big brands, they're putting people as the face of the brand to give people something to connect to. So even when we're showing up, we're not showing up as much as how much value can I possibly give, like we would when we would write that long form piece of content. But we want to show up with how can I provide value and how can I help people connect with me. And I think that's the biggest thing that people miss out on, is that they forget to show up on social media and be human in a way that drives connections. And it's those connections on social media that actually matter most. And I think it's the toughest part. It's so easy for me to show up and say, like, just be yourself and be human and create authentic connections. But I think when we really just view social media as, in fact, being a place for social interactions, which is what it's supposed to be, then I think when we start to view it that way, then we'll create content in slightly different ways that leads to more social interaction.
It's connection first. That's what
Hmm.
I'm hearing instead of keyword first. And two things came to mind as you're talking. Like, first, I was looking at some brand that I really liked their social presence, but then I went on their blog and it was just like, you could tell they just copied and pasted the top searched keywords in their industry and then used those as a blog titles and then wrote a blog. And you're like, I don't even know what that's for. Like, ChatGPT has that, but more concise. So why would I read this? I don't
Hmm.
I don't get it. And then the second thing is connection first versus like I don't know, action first or like problem first or whatever. That's very human. Like, humans actually cannot change unless they first feel connected. It's like a basic psychological principle across all the psychology books and a ton of studies. It's really interesting that you're framing it that way because I hadn't thought about it that way, but it makes a ton of sense because running a business is getting people to change. They have to change their mind from "I'm not going to pay you" to "Now I'm going to pay you,"
Exactly.
and so you don't have an option. You have to change people's minds, and the best way to do that is to first connect on a human level, then introduce whatever, like, you know factual, informational, whatever you need to talk about that is useful to the customer or helps them solve their problem or whatnot. That is that's really helpful framing, I think, and I think people listening will find that really useful. Like, connect first.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, when it comes to social media, the social sales funnel is the same sales funnel that you're going to see in pretty much any interaction. You're going to have to simplify things, Josh. You're going to have attract, nurture, and convert. The same process that you're going through in really any way that you're trying to attract customers and buyers into your world. Attract, nurture, and convert. What ends up happening on social media is most people focus heavily on attract or convert. And they spend all of their time and effort there and they wonder why they're not seeing results from it. They're either spending all of their time and attention on attraction content that's just bringing people in, but it's not having them do anything once they get there. And that attraction content is great if your primary focus is on engagement, is on the metrics of it all. Or you have people that are simply there that's just like, I'm just on social media because I need to sell. And they're showing up and they're trying to constantly convert. Well, that's not going to work either. Why in the world would anybody buy from you? I mean, let's just be real. Where most people miss it and what they skip over is everything within the nurture zone, is what I call it. And it's actually taking time to connect with people in a real way. Your attraction content and your conversion content are a small part of what you actually need to be doing on social media. Where you need to be spending 85% of your time is in the middle, which is nurture. And you need to be nurturing the mess out of everyone that comes into your world. Now, when done right, Josh, you can go through attract, nurture, and conversion in one sitting. When done right, it can be done in one sitting. This doesn't need to be something on social media. This doesn't need to be something that takes 6 to 12 months. This could be something that takes one afternoon when done right. Someone can find your page, they can binge your content, and then they can go to your website and buy. And that happens time and time again for me and for my students and my clients. But it's when you focus heavily on that middle part, which is nurturing them. The more that they can get nurtured, whether it's in one sitting or whether it's over 6 months, the more likely they are to go to that next step, which is to convert with you. And it all
Super
comes
good
down to
point.
connection.
Super good point because the attract content is such hit and miss, right? Like, you'll have one that really goes off and maybe that brings in a ton of people, but then what they're going to be looking for is that nurture content.
Hmm.
Like, who is this person? What are they about? How do they show up? What's their vibe? How do they do business? All that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. That's like the nurturing piece. And then you'll have some convert stuff sprinkled in there and they'll find that and they'll move forward to the next step. But if there's no like, I don't know, substance in the middle, there's no like, and I think that's where sometimes people will mix in like longer form. They'll have a podcast or like a YouTube channel, that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, now you can go watch a 30-minute video of Kary talking
Hmm.
instead of, just 90 seconds. And then that's like super nurturing because it's like, okay, like, there's a real person. They really know what they're talking about. You can't fake 30 minutes of expertise on a topic. Like, it's very obvious that you know your stuff. which I think is really like what people are trying to validate. Like if they like the idea, then they just want to know like, does this person know their stuff? And am I going to be like wasting my time and my money if I try to work with them because they're really good at talking about their thing, but they don't actually know it? That's what you're trying to
Exactly.
get past.
And that and just what you just said is all the trust funnel. It all comes back
Yeah.
to creating a funnel that just increases trust with you every step along the way. Every little thing that you do is just one little ding for trust. And it all matters and it all plays a part and it all comes together.
Yeah. Trust funnel instead of sales funnel. I think that's like the right framing. It's a perfect place. I think we can land the plane there because I think if we leave people with that, that's like that's the perfect mindset to think about it. Where can people go to see how you're doing all this? Because I think you've set a great example of how this all works. So like, what are your socials and website and all that kind
Yes.
of good stuff?
So my Instagram handle and on most social platforms, you'll find me as Social with Kary. You'll also can go to my website at karyperry.com. And I have a podcast called the From Scratch Podcast that you can find on most platforms and directories.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kary. This is super enlightening, and I think like a solid masterclass for anybody that's like been on the fence and they're like, I think this is perfect. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent. This was so much fun, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you.